First, back to those medical strikes, the junior doctor and consultant strikes. It was announced yesterday that on a number of days in September and October that both the junior doctors and the consultants, who of course have been spasmodically striking for some time now, will coordinate their strikes, go out together on days that will be extremely disastrous for the NHS. They are in pursuit of what many might believe is an impossible dream, pay demands. So let's go over now to the co-chair of Keep Our NHS Public and a retired consultant paediatrician, Dr. John Puntis. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Kevin.
Now, both the junior doctors and the junior doctors are asking for the 35% pay rise, and the consultants, in effect, are asking for the same 35%. It's pie in the sky. They're never ever going to get that. Why are they asking for such a fantastical pay rise?
Well, as you know, I think they're asking for pay restoration. So they're saying this is the amount that our pay effectively has been cut by over the last 10 years, so we'd like to go back to where it was. But I don't think they'll make this an absolute demand. I think they want to have discussions. And if we look at what has happened in Scotland, I think we can see that there is a way forward, because the Scottish government have offered 17.5% to the juniors over 2 years, and have also agreed that they will look at a mechanism for getting back to full pay restoration over a period of time. And the junior doctors have accepted that and are not going on strike. So I think what they're really calling for is serious talks about an above inflation pay settlement.
About a sensible compromise.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, these two unions now coordinate. Look, it's bad enough when the junior doctors walk out, or for that matter, nurses or consultants that we saw last week, Thursday and Friday, causing the cancellation of 45,000 more operations. There have been 885,000 operations have been cancelled since December because of all of these frontline medical strikes. Now, so that's bad enough when they go out separately. But when the junior doctors and the consultants decide to go out together, I mean, patients will die because of this. Is that acceptable?
Well, it's not two unions. That may have been a slip of the tongue. It's one union, the BMA, because both the junior doctors...
yeah, okay, so yeah.
And what they'll be operating is what they call a Christmas Day service. In other words, it's the kind of service which is normally provided throughout the NHS at bank holiday weekends, and in fact many weekends as well. So I think I would not discount the possibility of adverse effects on patients, but this will mainly it won't be because emergencies aren't being dealt with. It will be because of increasing again the waiting for elective procedures, which will be cancelled.
But you do understand, John, for we laymen, it rings pretty hollow when these medics come out, stand on picket lines and say, we care about patient safety. Now, if the junior doctors and the consultants are going to stand on picket lines together, you're quite right. Of course, they're all members of the BMA. So this is a BMA coordinated industrial action. If they're all going to be standing on a picket line, don't stand there telling me you care about patient safety, because behind you in that hospital, patient safety is being seriously compromised because you walked out.
Well, I think there is a huge concern about patient safety, and this came out in the other strikes as well that we've seen, for example.
Well, if you cared about patient safety, John, you wouldn't walk out.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think that
so patient safety is not remotely compromised when doctors and consultants walk out. It doesn't make any difference.
Well, I think if you look at Christmas Day, we don't have a headline every Christmas Day, dangerous situation in a health service, patients will die, so that this is the kind of cover that's being provided. Now, you can't do anything in the NHS in terms of proper care for patients unless you have a workforce that is well looked after, and is content in their job, I think. And at the moment, we've got nearly 11,000 medical vacancies, 125,000 staff vacancies, 7% of doctors' posts are unfilled. People are working very hard. And we also have the chronic underfunding or an underinvestment in the NHS, which is absolutely putting patients at risk.
I would disagree with that. I think the problem with the NHS is they get lots of money, more than £200 billion a year, plus various other additions that seem to be thrown into the money pit as well virtually every year. I think the problem with the NHS is they get a vast amount of money and they spend it like basket cases. It needs reorganisation. We don't need 3,500 middle managers doing mysterious jobs all on more than £100,000 a year. They just need to learn how to spend the money they get more sensibly than the crazy way they waste it now on thousands or not hundreds of diversity officers. All of that. Take all that money that you give to diversity officers, give it to the doctors, give it to the consultants, give it to the nurses. How about that?
Well, it's an interesting point of view, but I think you're in a tiny minority here.
I'm not.
Well, I would say if you look
Why do you say I'm in a minority?
Because I think, I think if you look at what expert opinion says about the NHS, you look at the think tanks, you look at health economists, they're drawing comparisons with comparable European countries. And they're saying the main problem in the NHS is underinvestment. And staff recruitment is a
Well, a lot of people don't agree with that. I don't know what you mean by experts. I think you mean politically motivated experts. 200 billion quid a year. If you can't run an organisation on that, you need your head examined. You need to go back to the drawing board. It's not about more investment. That's a ridiculous thing to do. We've already basically we are a health service with a nation attached to it. We're spending 40% of public spending on our health service. I mean, how much more do you want? It's ridiculous.
Well, I disagree completely. It's
I figured.
Absolutely about underinvestment. This is very clear that the demand on the health service goes up and the funding doesn't go up in proportion. I mean, look at that schools item that you just ran on the aerated concrete blocks. There's 34 hospital buildings built out of aerated concrete about to fall down. Government have said they might hit this by 2035.
Yeah. Well, listen, John, you and I don't exactly see eye to eye, as I think has become very evident. However, I think we can both agree. I find it so frustrating with industrial disputes is this sort of routine dance, the dance that they always do. It's like, we want 1,000,000%. Well, we're not offering you anything. And then we have to wait a month before there's a few talks. Well, okay, we'll go down to, 500,000%. We'll offer you 1%. This ridiculous, prolonged, protracted, routine dance, why can't we just cut that out? Because the only solution that can be found here is if people get round the table. So can we agree? Let's get both sides round the table right now. How about that?
Well, I absolutely find myself in agreement.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, that is it, isn't it? I mean, let's get talking, then we'll find a solution, right?
Yeah, there can't be progress without discussions over it. And to say that the pay deal has been made, there can be no return to discussions over it, is clearly going to be a pointless, fruitless exercise, and we'll just continue these strikes. So yes, get round the table and talk.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. Very good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. That's Dr. John Puntis, co-chair of Our NHS Public and a retired consultant paediatrician. I mean, do you agree with him?